Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Egosa Igbenova, Dr. E, and I am the Education Committee Chair for the National Association of Black Women in Construction. And we are here today to get some great information about scaling our construction businesses, because the bottom line is profit. And there's nothing wrong with profit, because profit then allows us to have some of the things we want for our families, but then also serve our communities and even our country, contributing to the GDP and so forth and so on, making the world a better place. So as long as it's honest, profit is a great thing. I'd like to welcome you, and we always begin every NABWIC event with a prayer. We are a Christian-based organization. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to come together to receive knowledge. We ask that you bless our presenter, bless every individual and family and business that's represented here today and that may see this recording in the future. And hopefully this information can be used for your good and the building of your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. We also recall the vision and mission of NABWIC during every event. Our vision is to build lasting strategic partnerships with first-rate organizations and individuals that will provide groundbreaking and innovative solutions for Black women in construction and their respective communities. Our mission: NABWIC was founded to increase the national awareness of Black women in the construction industry. Our charge is to advocate for Black women-owned construction businesses for contract opportunities, create strategic environments that support educational, entrepreneurial, professional, and social network connections, and to train the next generation of Black women and minorities in the construction industry. Our members consist of not only Black women, but anyone who wants to walk alongside Black women in their journeys in entrepreneurship and construction. With that, I'd like to now introduce you to the woman of the hour, Dr. Palmer, CEO and business strategist. Dr. Palmer, affectionately known as Dr. Sandra, is a dynamic speaker, accomplished entrepreneur, and sought-after business strategist with over 25 years of experience helping leaders and organizations thrive. She is the CEO of Above or Beyond Incorporated, a boutique management and business consulting firm with clients across North America and the Caribbean. She holds a doctorate in business management and information technology, and her leadership has earned her international recognition, including being named one of the top female entrepreneurs in the Americas by the World Bank. Okay, so we are getting a treat here today. A serial entrepreneur and host of the popular radio show and podcast, Talking Business with Dr. Sandra, she brings a unique blend of real-world business expertise, academic rigor, and relatable leadership insights. Dr. Sandra specializes in helping construction business owners move beyond survival to build scalable, profitable, and sustainable businesses. Through her transformation programs, she equips leaders to close growth gaps, implement systems, and lead with confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sandra Palmer.
Thank you so much for such a kind introduction, Dr. E, and welcome one and all. I'm very happy to be here today. I hope everyone can see me and hear me clearly. Dr. E, can you just acknowledge that you can see and hear me clearly? I'm going to start sharing my screen now.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. I can see you clearly. Don't see your screen yet, though. Okay, great. I can see your screen now.
All right. Okay, I'm so excited to be sharing with you today how to build profitable and well-structured construction businesses that can scale sustainably. And the goal today is to help us as construction business owners break free from what sometimes is chaos cash flow, stress, the feast and famine situation that all oftentimes plague our industry. And the goal to share a proven approach that will give you a clear roadmap for growing your business, building a strong team, securing steady projects, all while maintaining a healthy bottom line and of course, work-life balance, because the reason why you started your business was to enjoy life and for the business to deliver for you the things that you desire. Let's jump right in. Dr. E, you can go ahead with the first poll. Just want to get a temperature on the room to get a sense of who we have, how long you have been in business, and so on. So this is an anonymous poll, just asking you how long you have been in business, and you just answer quickly, submit the answers, and I'll share the poll results with you. Okay, so while you're doing that, I will just continue on. So who is this session for today? There are mainly three buckets, if you will, of businesses in terms of where they are on their business life cycle. And you have those small business owners. In fact, stats shows that 90% of businesses actually fall in this category, irrespective of industry. So we have small businesses that are focused on moving beyond just the next project, generally in survival mode, and they're working on their internal operations and so on. And then we have our growing construction companies that are getting contracts, but they're hitting a growth ceiling despite strong client demand. And we want to help those businesses break through those barriers. And then next, we have our established construction companies that are seeking to transform their companies into systems that generate consistent profits. A company that runs without them, a company that runs on systems and processes and is future proof, probably has an exit strategy, and so on. So the key is that the key takeaway from this slide is that the session is tailored to construction business owners at different stages of the growth cycle. So it doesn't matter where you are on this growth trajectory, there is something in it that you can take away. Do you have the results as yet, Dr. E, for the poll?
Yes, I see that 47%, 9 out of 19 are 0 to 2 years in business. 3 to 5 years is 11%, 6 to 10 years, 11% also, and then 32% have been in business for 10 or more years.
Interesting. So we have a wide mix. We have a wide mix. Yeah. Thank you for sharing and thank you for participating. Okay. So why is this important? Why does it matter? And why does this work even matter to me? And before we get into the meat and potatoes today, I want to tell you why the conversation from my heart. Why is it that I am here with you today? What does it mean? When I first started working in the construction business, I noticed something that was really unique that struck me because I've worked in other industries before. And there were very few women of color and even just minorities in general running truly scaled construction companies. Plenty of bright, hardworking women, plenty of bright, hardworking minorities, men as well, or allies, but they were often stuck wearing all the hats, carrying all the weight, getting left out of the rooms that really matter, where the big deals and opportunities were happening. And it was clear to me that it was not because we're not capable. It's not because we lack what it takes. It was because no one was teaching us the playbook. No one was teaching us how to scale in the industry. And the fact is that you can hustle your way to 6 figures. You probably may even be able to hustle your way to 7 figures. But without the right systems, the right mindset, the financial strategy, the leadership capacity, it's almost impossible to build a company that can grow beyond you. It's beyond luck at that point. It takes something else. There are four learning objectives that I have for the session this morning, and you can read faster than I can speak, so I'll just read the headlines. One is for us to understand the key differences between growth and scaling, because sometimes we get them confused, but we want to get very clear on what that is. Because growth is just simply increasing or doing more in size, but scaling is something totally different. Scaling is strategic. It's expanding in a sustainable way, not just adding more to the pile. And then we want to identify the key growth stalling mistakes. Because in order to fix anything or change anything, you have to know what's wrong. So first we have to recognize what are the common pitfalls that prevent us from scaling efficiently. Third, to assess the business for readiness, to figure out across the various areas in the business, leadership systems, financials, team, where are you today? What are the weak areas? What are the strongest areas? And fourthly, how do you now apply this scaling blueprint to your organization? So in a very practical way, what are the steps that you need to implement a sustainable, what are the steps that you need to implement so that you can have a sustainable organization and have an actionable plan? So those are the four areas that we want to cover. Now, before we get talking about scaling, we have to know what we're building towards. Where are you headed? There's this well-known phrase that I'll quote, that for you to reach the right harbor and to get there in the time frame that you want to get there, you have to know which harbor you're headed for so that you can catch the right wind. Basically, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will get you there. And how would you know when you have gotten there? Before we start to talk about the details of scaling, I think it's critical that we first establish a clear vision of what is it that we're trying to build? What are this mindset shift that is required that I think is so often overlooked by some of our construction business owners in getting started and hitting the ground running, and starting to bid on contracts and starting to get work and so on. That is clear, but I think it's a very crucial first step that we need to get aligned with in terms of the long-term goals and outcomes we are in for. And I think only then can we thoughtfully plan on how to scale and grow the business in a sustainable way, because the foundation we lay up front will determine our trajectory as we go forward. So I want to start by each person thinking about your own situation, your own business, and taking a moment to get crystal clear on your vision and your objectives, because I think this is what will provide us with the necessary context and direction as we explore the specifics of scaling as we go further in the presentation. I'd say we want to start with the end in mind. We want to define the vision for the business. What does success look like for you? You know, for everybody, that's different. Everybody goes into business for a different reason, right? How large do you want your company to be? What services will you offer? In which markets will you operate? These may sound very obvious. I always say that writing and thoughtfulness gives clarity. So it's important to balance your personal and business goals. Hopefully they are aligned. Consider your desired lifestyle, the income needs that you have, the and the legacy you want to leave, if you want to leave one. And your company should support your overall life vision. So basically, everything should line up. Otherwise, if that's not the case, then you're going to have conflicting situations and it's going to be very difficult for you to grow and scale your business. Now, working backwards from your desired end state, right? So that's the future state. So working backwards from that future desired end state to identify the key milestones and requirements that we need to reach that goal today is what is important in doing this reverse engineering. And it is something that I think it is so critical that we skip that step sometimes because persons may think it is too soon to do that. But this reverse engineering approach actually helps you to create a realistic plan. And then you want to set a timeline for achieving your vision. Just having an idea, having a goal, having a dream. And if we don't have timelines and action steps towards them, then basically they're just wishes. They're just wishes. So you want to make sure there's a timeline and you have to be patient. You have to be persistent. Growing a successful construction business takes time, and we want to identify realistic timeframes to each step of the journey. And as I talk about being patient and being persistent, we all want to get there quickly, but you can't miss the step or you can't skip steps. That's not going to work well at all. Having a little difficulty with my slides. Okay, are you seeing what does success look like for you?
Yes.
Okay, so if as we think about where we are and where we want to go, I want you to define it. Define what success looks like for you, not just in terms of completing projects, but in terms of your broader business, personal, and legacy goals. And the project success is really about delivering work on time, on budget, but that's just the beginning, right? The business success is about achieving consistent profits, predictable revenue, and systems that don't depend on you. And I think this is where we have a lot of challenges making that transition to getting consistent profits, predictable revenue, and having systems in place that the business can run without you. And personal success is about having the freedom to choose your projects. And I smile as I say this because so many business owners, they're just chasing any and every project because of the feast and famine situation that tends to exist. But you want to have the freedom to choose the projects that align best with your organization. You want to be able to enjoy your life, work on things that you want to work on, work with companies and business and other business owners that you want to work with and build generational wealth. No, the legacy of success is about creating opportunities for others and building something that goes beyond you. So not just your immediate needs right now. And the key takeaway here is that the scaling journey starts with clearly defining where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Now, why exit thinking matters? Why is it that you should even be thinking about an exit now? It may seem crazy or feel crazy to be thinking about an exit strategy or legacy when we're still building, we're still starting, we're probably at the ground floor. Why would we be thinking that? But here's why it matters. If you don't scale intentionally, you can end up trapped in your own business. And I'm sure some of us can relate to that. You end up trapped in the business and the business is totally dependent on you. You create a business that can't run without you. And if you have been there, and I know a lot of my clients have been there, you understand how that feels. As a scalable business gives you options, whether that's freedom to work how you want, building wealth, etc. So building that business that run without you is key because you don't want to be trapped in the business that can't function without you. Thinking about your eventual exit early on helps you to make strategic decisions to create a more valuable and sustainable company. Because if you know what your future goal is, then you are going to build a business with that exit in mind. And exit does not mean that you are going to leave the business. It could mean that it could be that you step away from day-to-day activities. You are now in a chairperson role instead of being in day-to-day management. It could possibly mean that you're looking at mergers and a merger and acquisition. You could possibly look at selling the business, and it could be that you want the business to continue beyond you, leaving a legacy within your family or for the leaders that are in the organization. But whatever the exit strategy in, planning from early and having that end in mind gives you a lot more control over your business future. And the goal here is to create a business that works for you and not the other way around. And that's true freedom. A scalable business that gives you option. Now, Dr. E, you want to just do the next poll? I want to see where the audience is in terms of where they feel they are at this time. So a scalable business really gives you some options in the future. You can step back, you can sell it, you can pass it on to the next generation, you can keep it without the day-to-day pressure. Okay, so as you complete the poll, we continue on. Doctor, once you have the results, you can just share them with me. So as we look within the next 5 to 10 years, what kind of lifestyle or opportunities do you hope that the business will provide for you? A lot of business owners are really concerned about burnout, about the constant day-to-day pressure of wearing all these hats. I call it the firefighting approach, where everything comes to you and through you, and you are the bottleneck. And the goal here is to start thinking strategically about the long-term potential of the business and not just the day-to-day operations. So although you may just be starting out, whether you are at the foundation stages or somewhere in between, the goal is that you want to start thinking about this sooner than later. Okay, so here we have the results, 14%, 44% growing, 25% preparing to scale, 13% actively scaling. Okay, thank you for that. So let us look at growth versus scaling. What exactly is the difference? So a lot of business owners confuse growth with scaling, but they're not the same. Growth is really about doing more, hiring more people, taking on more work, but your costs tend to be growing just as much. So as you continue to take on more jobs, you have more work, you find that yes, revenue is going up, but guess what? Expenses are going up as well, and sometimes even faster. And the profit is not necessarily going in that direction at this time. So there's a lot of cash burn, right? Now, scaling is doing something different. Scaling is about doing it better. You're creating systems, you're creating leverage so that revenue grows faster than cost and the business can expand in a very sustainable way. So without scaling, you eventually hit a ceiling, usually based on how much you can personally manage. and how much you can personally do as a business owner. But scaling gives you the freedom and the true enterprise value that you're looking for so your company can grow beyond you. Now, why is it that firms stall at the growth phase? And there are four main reasons why this happened. One, the lack of systems. Owner doing too much, owner being too hands-on, poor cash flow visibility, sometimes hiring the wrong people. And sometimes it's out of necessity because at that stage when you're just starting out and you're small, probably it's friends, probably it's family members that you're hiring. Maybe they may not be the best fit employees, but they're available. They're probably willing to work for less, and they are probably willing to help you to build a business. They're willing to help you to get the work done, but that does not necessarily mean that they are the best fit for the organization. But trying to get the work done, you're going to take whoever you can get. Okay. And another thing too is sometimes we're trying to scale too fast. No, you made me think, how can you try to scale too fast? If the goal is to grow, why not do it as fast as possible? And there are a couple of reasons why you don't want to do that, because as builders, we know that the most important thing is the excavation and the foundation. And that's why I'm spending so much time talking about this part before I get into how you scale and how you grow. Because if we don't have a strong foundation, and if we're not building with the end in mind, then you will find that if you scale too fast, then the structures that you have in place can't support the business. So I look at it this way as scaffolding the growth. So visualize that, scaffolding the growth so that you have the bandwidth to scale sustainably. Many companies fail at this stage when they try to make that transition from acceleration to sustainability, because they start to get bigger projects. One project probably consumes the entire team, all their cash reserves, all their credit reserves, the function, the focus and attention of the business owner, and something goes wrong there. And I've seen many companies fail at that stage. It's the easiest stage to fail. And that is why it's so important not to grow and scale, not to scale too fast. The good news is, though, that every one of these things, every one of these steps, we can put the systems in place. We can fix what is wrong with the right framework and with the right support. We can get it done. We can close the financial gaps. We can take the owner of the day-to-day firefighting, and we can put the systems in place that will allow the business to run like a well-oiled machine. So let's get started about what it is that stands in the way of growth. So before we scale, we have to grow. And before we grow, we have to make sure that the company is stable. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But there are many things that small companies do wrong for a lot of reasons why the growth is stalled. And because we are limited with time, I am going to pick 5 and share those with you and some of the quick fixes. And this is just shining a light on looking under the hood to see what's going wrong, that if we focused our attention on fixing these things, we could actually be on our growth path faster than before doing that. Hint here, if you stay until the end, you will get a free copy of my ebook that shows 20 growth mistakes that are stalling your construction business and how to fix it. with all the fixes, a free e-copy of the book with the solutions. So let's go and let's get into this. I am sure that you can relate to this, even if you are not at the early stages of your business, because some businesses at various stages still have some of these issues, right? So ineffective cash flow management. This is a common growth mistake for construction businesses. All we know, cash is king. Profit on paper does not pay the bills, right? You have to put in place systems and processes to be on top of what is happening with your money. You have to know where the business is leaking cash, if it is, and fix it immediately. You have to be razor focused on the numbers. And one quick fix is to implement a 13-week cash flow forecast to track your project billings against supplier payment cycles to make sure that they're aligned, because in our industry, you tend to do the work up front and the payment tends to come in at the back end. Sometimes people don't honor their commitments and days receivable outstanding tend to be longer than expected. And so this is something that you have to keep your eye on, because once you run out of cash, I say the business is doomed. You can run a business forever that's not profitable. And hear me out. You can, not that you would want to do that, but you can run a business for a very long time that's not profitable once you have cash flow. Once you can get access to additional cash, your personal funds, a loan, whatever the case may be. But once you run out of cash, checkmate, it's game over. So cash flow management is key. Now, many construction firms still rely on manual processes and manual systems to run the business, like whiteboard, in boxes and paper, a lot of different Excel spreadsheets and Google spreadsheets. And nothing is wrong with that in the early stages to get yourself started. However, you can't scale that. Right? As a business grows, it's not scalable. So adopting basic digital tools for project tracking, time management, document control, communication, archiving, storage and retrieval of information can make a very big difference. Now, risk is very important. And it's not just about insurance. Sometimes we think just about insurance, but if you think about your business, risk is everywhere in construction projects. Risk is everywhere. And how do you eliminate, or if you can't eliminate, how do you at least mitigate, plan for, provide for these risks? Some may never happen, but you have to protect yourself. That's why we have insurance, we have bonding and so on, but it goes way beyond that. You don't want to rely on luck or the bare minimum. You want to create detailed risk logs for every project. You want to review contracts thoroughly. This part is so important. I've seen so many of my small business clients, when they're told we can't pay because of that, or no, you have to continue working because this is what the contract said, there's a disagreement, but you have to continue working. And like, why? I didn't know. Look in your contract. That's what you signed. Review your contracts thoroughly. Don't depend on your own eyes and experience. If you're not a trained attorney, if you can't afford to pay an attorney to do it, try and get a friend or someone. But please do not just sign blindly because we want to get the contract. And as an entrepreneur, I understand that we want to close the business. And so where do I sign? But you have to review your contracts thoroughly and plan for contingency. It's not if something will go wrong. It's just a matter of when. And it just comes with the territory. The next thing is revenue. What kind of projects are we going after? Not all revenue is good revenue. They're saying money is money. It's all green. It's all good. But not all revenue is good revenue. Before bidding on a job, I always say to my clients, score it based on some internal system and process that you have to determine which jobs you go after. So score it based on how well it fits with your capabilities. Score it based on the risk that you see in this particular opportunity. And it says that not everything that glitters is gold. How does this align with your current backlog? What projects do you have coming up? What would that mean for the business? And so it's basically not just going after every and any project, because some are just not necessarily a good fit for the organization. So this brings me to what I called my design framework. And this design framework is actually trademarked by Above or Beyond. And it is the system that we use in our approach to transforming a construction business. And you notice that the word design, it's the first letter spells one, each of the seven areas that we look at in this transformation process. It provides a structured way for you to clarify your long-term vision, align your internal culture and your client experience, develop a scalable process, drive continuous innovation, and optimize your growth engine and install financial visibility. Now, each element of the framework, as you go through it on the slide with me. The first one is the D for direction. And that covers what we spoke about earlier on in the presentation, where you clarify your long-term vision and you create a detailed roadmap that's executable. So that's for the business and also aligning that with your personal goals, visions, and objectives. And then the E is for experience, right? So we're talking about how persons experience your organization from the inside, as employees, stakeholders, board members, if you have those leaders, everybody on the inside, and the external stakeholders, those who are your clients, your suppliers, organizations that you belong to, other professionals that you work with, and so on. And how does this all tie together in what we refer to as the culture of your organization that is going to drive the exceptional results that you will get based on how persons experience the organization. And then the systems. Are your systems repeatable? And that is the true test. These processes, can they stand up on their own? How do you maintain quality consistently without your personal constant oversight? Then innovation. Are you continuously looking for problems, looking for bottlenecks, looking at the challenges and putting in creative solutions, efficient solutions? I won't get into AI, but that's a whole day presentation. But how are you leveraging artificial intelligence in the basic tasks that you do every day to get the job done faster, get it done more accurately, whether it's in messaging, whether it's in archiving, whether it's in bidding, doing your costings and so on? There's just so much that we can do. And unfortunately, the data is showing us that the construction industry is one of those industries that have lagged in the adopting innovation. And that's where business, I think small business owners, small to medium business owners can have an advantage because we can pivot faster, we can change quicker, we can start using technology faster. The bigger companies, they have to go through a much longer decision process to get things done and to change things. I always say it's easier for a young gazelle to get going than to turn around a large, heavy elephant. Being small sometimes actually gives you some advantages. And then when we talk about growth, of how do we optimize our sales system? Because it all comes down to that revenue. Somebody signing on a dotted line, delivering projects on time, within budget, and having that marketing engine to deliver the sales for this to happen. It's not happenstance at all. And the numbers, looking at your numbers, making sure that you can see them and you can see it if it's not visible. And for it to be visible, you want to install dashboards, you want to have financial visibility tools that you can see, or at the touch of a button, you have all the key data, all the key financial data that you need for your organization right at your fingertips. Very important. So, is your business ready? And the four pillars that you're seeing on the screen now, I call it the scaling readiness pillars. And as we walk through this, I want you to think about where you are in your business life cycle. And for each of these areas, how are you doing where that is concerned? Where are your greatest gaps? What do you want to be looking at? So for leadership and mindset, are you running the business or is the business running? Think about that. Are you thinking like a CEO or are you thinking like a project manager? So it's a totally different mindset. Earlier, we spoke about starting with the end in mind. How would a CEO with a growth mindset approach this particular problem that I'm having today versus how would a project manager approach it? If we look at operational systems and processes, can your business deliver consistent results day to day without you being involved in every single detail of the job? These are the things that determine growth and scaling. If you're still on the tools, which I understand in the early stages you may be, a lot of persons start a business because they're good technically, they're good on a trade, and they start to get additional jobs and so on. But if you're constantly on the tools and working in a business and you're not putting in systems, if you think about it, the more jobs you get, then that weight on that foundation that is not fully optimized for that growth, that's the where we start to have our challenges. So are your processes documented and repeatable? And you're going to hear me say this a lot, because if we could just get this right, it would solve a large percentage of the issues that we have as smaller business owners. Now, when we talk about the financial infrastructure, do you have clean books? And when I say clean books, is everything current, up to date, at least say a month in the back? So is your data being updated in real time in your financial system? You may or may not have a full-time CPA or CFO in-house. You probably may have a bookkeeper, you may have a fractional CFO, and I understand that. But the important thing is that if you don't have clean books, it's almost impossible to grow. Because what I have found is that when you need to get access to credit, access to insurance, access to bonding, when you need to work with larger contractors, when you want to partner with other entities to probably do a joint venture bid on a project, then you'll find that if you can show your numbers, then it's game over. So are you filing your taxes on time? Is everything transparent? Are you separating your personal finances from your business finances? And we could spend a long time going into what clean books mean, but suffice it to say that your books need to be clean so that you're ready to grow and ready to scale. visibility of the cash flow cycle. Business owner, ignorance is not bliss. You must have your eye on that. I'm saying you should know from day to day, what are your bank balances? What's going wrong in terms of who do you owe? Who owes you? What should you be taking the time to pay attention to, and not just necessarily focusing on the things that are grabbing your attention? I call it the fires that keep popping up, that taking your attention. And then the team and the talent. You can't step away from the tools if you don't have somebody else to wear the hat. So why we're wearing so many hats at this level is because we don't have anybody else to wear the hats. Or if we have other persons, we don't trust them enough to do the job as well as we can do it. And so the question is, do you have the right people in the right roles? And can you grow without burning out your own leadership bandwidth? So scaling really starts with knowing where your gaps are so you can strengthen them. These are 4 areas that I really want you to take some time after today to think about. Look at where you are, look at where the gaps are, and see where you need to close those gaps so that you can move on to the next level. You can't build on a shaky foundation, right? But every one of these pillars can be strengthened. Now, when you look at the scaling blueprint and to just put it all in context and to visualize it, what I'm saying here is that at the foundation, you have where we're trying to develop a strong fund, which we're trying to clean up the operations, we're trying to strengthen our financial, we're trying to establish leadership structure. And once you get all, so we're putting everything together. We're gathering the material as if we're going to start a construction project, and we're getting everything together. And yes, we have clear leadership structure, we have financial systems in place. Good. And now we want to move to the next level, which is stabilization. We want to deliver consistent projects, quality, on time, every time. We want to make money on every job. Sometimes I know we bid to just get in, but that's a conversation for a different day. We want to strengthen our client relationships so that we don't just get one job, but we get second job and the third job. They try us with a small job, we get a medium-sized job, we get a bigger job, right? And then you want to improve your cash flows and your margins consistently. You have to be razor focused on cash flow and margin. This is the heart of business, right? So here, the business is stable, right? Money is coming in, it's predictable, cash flow is predictable, revenue is predictable, and we have a team that's delivering. And then we move on to acceleration. So acceleration now is where we talk about marketing, partnerships, having access to capital to grow. Yes, you need money to grow. And unless you were born into wealth or you have a big inheritance to get or something like that, generally most of us have to use other people's money. And this is where investors come in. This is where equity investment comes in. This is where loans come in. And for everybody's business, it's going to be different. You have to sit down with your finance people, with your consultants, with your coaches, and figure out what's best for you. You're now bidding on bigger projects, larger projects. So the bonding requirement, the insurance requirement, your financial situation has to be much stronger. Persons are going to want to know how strong you are financially before they partner with you. And then your hiring has to really go up a notch or two here, because you have to hire strategically. It's not just the person who is available, your cousin or your some family member. It can't be the person who is just a boy, they're just looking for something to do and you're going to just hire them and because they will take a very low salary. No. In the acceleration stage, it is precision, it is focus, it is strategy. And then the stage that we are all aspiring towards is the sustainability stage where we're talking about leadership development. You have a leadership team in place. You're talking about succession planning. What happens after me? You're talking about building a brand, building a legacy so that the business can run with you or without you. It's a choice that you can make, right? So you can't skip stages, right? And the key is knowing where you are and moving forward intentionally. It's a process. It's a process, and you build steadily so your company can truly scale. Now, where are you on the scaling part? And Dr. E, you can launch the other slide. So think about your business and where you are on that path will determine what your next best step is. Which pillar do you most need to strengthen, right? I'm not seeing okay, yeah. So you can just quickly answer those questions. Which areas do you feel is your biggest gap right now? Leadership and mindset, financial visibility and capital readiness, team and talent development. I'm not sure. Let's see what the audience is saying. All right. So while that is coming up, I am just going to see we're running out of time. There's just so much to cover. So let me try and speed it up. Right. So I want to share some tools, some practical things that you can do right after this. And at the core of any scalable business is a solid backbone, a solid back office, a solid back end, right? So there's the money, there's the people, but there are the systems. And when we talk about solid tech backbone, and a lot of people say, oh, I'm not tech savvy and so on. It's none of those things, right? So these are tools that's going to help you to do everything better. It's going to help you to communicate better, help you to store your files better and retrieve them, and help you to manage your documents and get everything going much faster, right? All right. Okay. So I'm seeing that the biggest gaps are in order. Financial visibility and capital readiness is the biggest one. And below that is team and talent development. And the third one is leadership and mindset. So that's 47%, 29%, 24%. And I'm so happy, 0% for I'm not sure. Great. Okay, so Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, that's the basic, right? Whichever ecosystem you prefer, I personally prefer Microsoft. Gives you cloud storage, gives you email, gives you shared calendars, and the list goes on, right? If we're talking about communication again, Slack or Teams, you don't want things get lost in text messages, WhatsApp messages, and emails. So Slack teams can really clean up your internal communication so you're not drowning in the text threads and the email threads, and after a while everything just starts to get fuzzy. It really doesn't work. Then Loom is one of my favorite tools. And for each of these tools that I suggest, by the way, I'm not vested in anyone. I'm not connected with anyone. And there are several alternatives to each one, just giving you an idea. So Loom is one of my favorites. You can use it to record training videos. Somebody doing something on the computer, it can capture the mouse movements. Even if the person is not speaking and saying what they're doing, and you can use that to create your own internal standing operating libraries so that as you grow your team, it's easier to onboard persons and it's easy to get them up to speed. And so these are some great tools that you can use for estimating and building. Stack is a cloud-based, very powerful tool. Clear Estimates is also good if you're doing more remodeling and smaller projects. But as you move towards like larger commercial work, tools like Building Connected and Procore is a diamond here. Their pre-construction module really is good in streamlining your bid management. And if you're at an early stage, or you're not ready for this, maybe because it takes some investment, even a solid bid spreadsheet template that's properly developed is a great place to start, right? So next, think about how you communicate with your clients and how you communicate with your partners and how you organize your files so nothing gets lost. Zoom and calendar are also essentials. DocuSign, PandaDoc, and so on helps you to get your deals closed much faster so that the client can sign electronically without you having to be printing and emailing stuff and so on. And please invest a little time in organizing your file system with a clear folder structure. Names can't be all over the place because otherwise you won't be able to find what you're looking for. So come up with a naming structure and a naming convention, and you'll thank yourself afterwards. Some other tools here, I'll just go through them quickly. Prospecting and marketing, things like HubSpot, Pipedrive. It just helps, and it means that consistent marketing and prospecting is in place, because if you're not marketing and prospecting consistently, you can't scale, right? HubSpot, Pipedrive, and so are excellent starters. Some of them have free versions that you can start with. Canva Pro lets you create professional marketing materials without having to hire a designer. Like, you need zero tech skills to use this. And then you have things like MailChimp to get your email strategy marketing easier. And don't overlook LinkedIn, by the way. It's a gold mine for building industry connection and surfacing opportunity. And next is sales. This is where a lot of construction companies lose opportunities because their process isn't consistent. If it's not consistent, it's not scalable. Even if what you're doing is working, if you can't duplicate it, if it's not consistent, you cannot scale it, right? So having even a strong script that persons are using in a professional design proposal sets you apart immediately, right? A follow-up sequence when you bid, follow-up sequence just to get information. This is huge. Most deals are won or lost because there is or isn't consistent follow-up. And this is where we bring it all together on the delivery side now with things like Procore. Procore is like the Cadillac of construction project management, but it's an investment, right? Build a Trend is excellent for smaller firms. FieldWire and Rayton gives you strong field visibility, and mobile tracking tools like ClockShark and T-Sheets help with labor cost controls and so on. As I say, you have to have your eyes on what's going on. And the key is building visibility so you can manage projects at scale without having to micromanage everything. And that's really where the rubber hits the road. So pick what fits your stage. It's not everything. Pick what fits your stage. You don't need everything today, but just start where you are. No, financials and the business management or CEO tools. I put this by itself on its own slide, and that tells you how important this is. Financial visibility is one of the biggest gaps I see in construction businesses, and it will literally kill your ability to scale if you don't fix this part of the business, right? So whether using something like QuickBooks Online for construction companies or something like Xero, it gives you solid financial tracking. I cannot underscore this enough. But beyond that, you need to be able to see your numbers. A live cash flow dashboard and a KPI dashboard for margins, profitability, and overhead gives you that CEO level visibility of what's going on a day-to-day basis. And finally, there's the higher level leadership side of things, an organizational chart. It seems obvious, but it's just four of us. Why do I need a chart? The chart is about the desired future so that as you build and you hire, people are going into the right roles. They may be wearing more than one hat at this stage, but you're building for the future. Strategic planning templates, leadership meeting agenda templates, CEO time blocking tools. Yes, you have to block tools to think and plan and strategize. Otherwise, you're just busy firefighting, right? So if you want to lead, you can't be in the weeds all day. It's not possible. And the vision and exit clarity tool is taking us right back where we started today, right? Keeping your why. Why did I start this business? Why am I doing this? Why am I making the sacrifice? Keeping your why and your end game front and center as you scale. No, this has been a lot, and I have had to be speeding based on time. And you don't need to implement everything in one go. And I want to say that because sometimes it can seem overwhelming, and that's we help. You want to start with what fits your current stage of business. And if you'd like the full resource list with some clickable links, I've prepared that for you. And you can just grab it from the download link I will share in the next slide. So you'll get this complete scaling starter kit with all the tools I mentioned and more, explaining what the tool does, what it is for. And some of them are you can start free and test them out. And so if you would to get the free copy of the ebook, which I mentioned, the link is also there. Once you click on the link and just answer the few questions, I'll email you the book with the 20 growth mistakes that stall in your construction company with the detailed solutions as well. I was only able to share 5 with you today based on time. And the thing is that the overall takeaway here is that scaling isn't random. It's not a mystery. It's not what happens to some people and not to others. Not what happens to some business owners and not others, right? It's not random. If you follow the proven path to build a company that gives you options, wealth, and legacy, it can be done. And of course, if you'd like support implementing this and building your scalable system, that's exactly what we do at Above or Beyond, and we would be happy to help you with that. So here is the link that you can use. You can just scan that and it will take you to the questions so that you can grab your free resources. And if you are not able to, let me see, it will come up, it will look like this. If you are not able to scan the QR code, then what I can do, I'll just drop the link in the chat. Okay. Yes, Dr. E, we can turn it over to the Q&A section now. If we have time, I know we are past the 1 o'clock mark, but it was really great sharing this information with you today. I hope you found some value. If it's even one thing that you can leave with to implement, then I think it was more than worth it. Back to you, Dr. E. Let me grab the link and I'll drop it in the chat. I'll also stop sharing in case anyone is not able to just scan the QR code.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any questions? Anyone want to unmute or either put a question in the chat? Go right ahead. We'll take about 5 minutes for questions. Any questions? No questions? That means you covered it all. All right. Someone said thank you in the chat, but I do see okay, someone asked, what is a good source of benchmarks? That's Catherine asking.
Okay, so what is a good source of benchmarks? So I am assuming that Catherine is referring to benchmarks in terms of where you need to be and what you need to be doing at each stage of the scaling process. Not clear, not 100% clear on the question. Oh, yeah, and where your competitors are. I think the first place I would start with subscribe to tools. Sorry. So there are quite a few industry magazines. There's one called Construction Dive that comes out every single day. It's a treasure chest, I would say, of important information on what's happening in the field, and you can see how competitors are doing. A lot of white papers come out as well that you can take a look at. Pay attention to the leaders in the industry. Thing is that you model that, when you see your future organization looking like theirs, look at what they're doing as well. And there's just so much information out there. Use your artificial intelligence tools and work with them. Ask the right question. There has never been a better time to get information than now. There's just so much information available. And we can talk more if you want me to send you some information directly. I did drop my LinkedIn in the chat earlier, so if you want to reach out to me, that's there as well. Hope that answers your question. Dr. E, they say when you don't have any questions after a presentation, it could mean that it was very muddy and not understandable. So there are no questions, or it was very clear. So
I do see another question. Do you have any advice on how to get financing as a minority?
okay. That is always the number one question. Financing, how do I get money? Because it's hard to grow without financing. I think if you cannot access traditional financing, that's just a traditional, going to a traditional bank, then we have to look at the non-traditional alternatives. And I think enough business owners are not looking at those. So those are your non-bank institutions that offer financial products. So we're talking about whether it's funding your supply chain, whether it's funding payroll, whether it's funding a project on the front end. There are fintech firms to do all of those things. Some do all, some play in a particular space, whether it's the supplier side or it's the paying the talent side or it's fronting the cost for the entire project side. But there has never been as many options as there are today. And so my answer to that, if you can't access traditional financing, you definitely need to be look at these alternative options. And there are so many of them.
I see another question here. What's your advice for leaders in construction who are trying to scale but can't afford to hire top tier leadership talent yet?
Excellent question. Sometimes you can get access to the best talent without hiring them outright full time. So if you can't afford, I always suggest fractional hire. Yeah, somebody who is going to be coming in at probably $250,000 a year as a CFO. You need their knowledge, but you don't need that person's full time 8 hours per day. They don't have enough to do. You just don't have enough work for them. But on a fractional basis, you can hire their expertise and experience for the fraction of the time that you need them. So that's one of the first things that I would suggest, fractional hiring. And a lot of top tier professionals are willing, open, and are selling their time on a fractional basis.
I see Ada says it was very clear. So I think we were clear and not muddy.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
So thank you, everyone. Go and do. It's not enough to know, but it's how we go and implement and just start where you are. Just start where you are. So click on the link or scan the QR code, and so you can get your free ebook and a copy of the presentation as well, and the starter toolkit.
Thank you so much. This has been awesome. And this is really the information that we need to grow our businesses because we launch and we might be at it for a few years and then we get stuck. So, again, like she said, take action because we do a lot of knowledge transfer and then we just have a lot of knowledge and aren't doing anything with it. So, hopefully, we can all use this information to really make some next steps to be able to grow our businesses. I want to just call your attention to a couple of things before we go. Next up, we have our Education and Training Academy series, Foundation to Finish, Demystifying the Construction Process, where we're covering the construction process from beginning to end, from pre-construction all the way to turnover, punch out, and close out. We've already had part one last week, which was the pre-construction and planning phase. And now we're moving to part two, foundation systems, excavation, shoring, and moisture control. So that'll be on June 17th at 12 o'clock. It's already on YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube. It will be on YouTube afterwards. It's on Eventbrite for you to register. So please register. And this is a 7-part series where we will be covering all of these topics. So please make sure that you register. Also follow us on Eventbrite so that you get the notifications when we put up new events. If you'd like to follow us, we're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and you can reach us on the web at nabwic.org. If you ever have any questions about an education presentation, you can email education@nabwic.org. And with that, I'd like to say thank you and thank you so much, Dr. Sandra. This was awesome information, and everybody get those ebooks and let's make some money. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure being here, and I wish everyone outrageous success for the rest of the year at beyond.